Hello, everybody. I'm Jesse Waters, along with Emily Compagno, Juan Williams, Dana Perino, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York, and this is The Five. President Trump blasting Michael Cohen after his former lawyer pleads guilty to lying to Congress and agrees to cooperate with the special counsel. Cohen saying in court today that he misled Congress about the timeline of a potential Trump Organization real estate deal in Moscow. Cohen originally telling lawmakers talks ended in January 2016, but is now claiming they didn't wrap up until June of the same year. Trump slamming his former attorney in the wake of these developments.
He's a weak person and not a very smart person. He's got himself a big prison sentence, and he's trying to get a much lesser prison sentence by making up a story. Now, here's the thing. Even if he was right, it doesn't matter, because I was allowed to do whatever I wanted during the campaign. He's lying about a project that everybody knew about. I mean, we were very open with it. We were thinking about building a building. I decided ultimately not to do it. There would have been nothing wrong if I did do it.
Meanwhile, investigation-happy Democrats like little Adam Schiff are not satisfied with Trump providing written answers to Robert Mueller. Sherrod Brown also hinting the Russia investigation is only the beginning of what's coming.
There really needs to be a live interview with the president, because you need to be able to ask follow-up questions in real time.
There will be investigations of the president using his office to enrich his family. There will be investigations on other things.
Trump is warning Democrats against what he's calling presidential harassment. The president saying he's a counterpuncher and may declassify devastating Russia probe documents if they don't back down. What's so funny, Juan? You know those documents are devastating.
Devastating.
Yes, David.
You know, this is the thing about Trump. He always, you know, the advertising, the hype, the Christmas season is here. But with Trump, it's every day. It's bigger. It's grander. It's going to be the best ever.
Let's talk about the Michael Cohen situation. So Trump's legal team is saying what he told Robert Mueller about the Russia deal. It wasn't even a deal. It matches what with Cohen's statement in court today, and there was really no discrepancy.
What?
So what's the big deal?
Are you kidding?
Yeah, Robert Mueller never asked him when the deal fell apart or when it ended. So what's the problem?
Listen, Trump was tweeting in the middle of 2016 after the primaries that there was no deal, nothing going on, no relationship, no business going on with Russia.
Well, there was no deal.
And what we know now from Cohen's plea deal today, Jesse, is that in fact, he was not only continuing to do this deal, not only continuing to brief Trump on it, but actually in touch with Vladimir Putin's office in order to try to get the deal done. So Trump was trying to make money while he's running for president, doesn't tell the American people this, which suggests that he's about his interest, his making money, not our interest.
Everybody knows he was running the Trump Organization when he was running for president.
Well, then why? Okay, so then why didn't he say straight up, hey, I'm still trying to get a deal to build a Trump Tower in Moscow? No, he didn't do that. He lied about it.
Well, there was no deal. I guess in your opinion, a deal happens before you sign it, but that's not how usually
what he
people
said was he had
deals.
nothing, no contact, no business dealings going on with Russia. That's what he said.
Okay. Emily, if you are now working with people like Michael Cohen, who's lied a few times, and you're working with Manafort, who's also lied, and Rick Gates, who's also lied, are you now saying that when they're offering this new testimony that it's not believable because, you know, they're facing hard prison time? Because a lot of people are saying that's the reason they've changed their stories.
Right, you can absolutely make that argument, right, that the reason that credibility is pierced is because obviously here's a career criminal liar, here's why. But that's when corroborating evidence comes into play. That's when the prosecution has to step up and do their job and say, it doesn't matter whether you believe this person in this moment based on their history. Here's why we are proving when they are lying and when they are telling the truth. So it kind of it means that you need to take that step further on prosecution's part. I want to point something else out as well. Just going back to Jerome Corsi, for a second.
You know him as Jim.
Yeah, my boy Jim. I want to point out, though, that people continue predicting prosecution's behavior and kind of trying to ascribe a certain set of structure and parameters to what's going to happen next, not only in this investigation, but the ancillary ones, right, with prosecutions. And you can never predict and you can never ascribe a certain set of rules. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because with Corsi, he gave them everything voluntarily. He literally sat down with them and said, this is my password, and here's my phone, and here's everything I own, and let me help you. And then they called him on something where he said... They called him on something where he said, oh, I don't remember. And they then circled back and said, here's evidence to the contrary. He then amended his answer formally, and then they still threatened this felony charges of being untruthful under oath in this investigation. So the fact that the prosecution can do whatever they want, they can change their mind, they can make decisions that don't make sense to us or that suddenly represent a tangent in their development, means that for all of us trying to kind of predict or read the tea leaves, anything is possible at this point.
Yeah, these are brass knuckle players. I mean, you saw the Ted Stevens situation, the same guys were involved in that, and the Enron situation.
Hey, you know, Jesse, I just want to interject. I know we'll be quick about it, but you were suggesting to Emily that, gee, these guys are liars. They've lied about things in the past. But we know from Manafort, right, that in fact, he is checked by the prosecutor, and that's why the prosecutor broke the plea deal, and that's why Trump is now floating the idea of a pardon for Manafort.
Did he float it?
I think he floated it.
I don't think he floated it.
He said it's not off the table, literally.
Okay, so
that's not floating a pardon.
What is that? What's that? That's putting it out there. Isn't it?
Well, he was asked a specific question by the Post about it. Dana, so, you know, he's going overseas. Jet's about to take off, and Mueller drops his thing. Same thing in Helsinki. The same thing happened.
You know, Dana's rule of thumb.
What's that?
Anytime the president of the United States, no matter who it is, travels overseas to one of these big meetings, something happens in domestic politics that keeps your attention divided, and it's frustrating because now you're on a time difference. You're trying to do things with all of these other leaders, the G20 leaders, and get that done. So that's right, but they'll be fine. I actually think that President Trump should. I think he should defer to Rudy Giuliani. Say, I'm going to be gone for 3 days. I want you to be the spokesperson on this. You handle it, and I am going to focus on the business at hand as the president of the United States.
So no tweeting at all?
I'm not going to tell him not to tweet, but I think that in terms of engaging with like today, when he took all of those questions today, I don't think that he needs to do that when he's in Argentina. He did that today. He said what he had to say, and now he can go and do the important business that a president of the United States
But Dana, he canceled the meeting with Putin.
Yes, he did. I think that was the right thing to do.
Well, maybe he's not in bed with Putin, as everybody suggests. Greg, do today's developments make you more or less interested in the story?
I have a series of 4 points, and I don't know if I should do them all or just pick one. Let's do them all. All right. Number one, to Emily's point, I don't know Cohen at all, but these crimes seem to be created by an investigation of crimes they couldn't find. So when you find out there's not enough there, you start looking for something else. Or maybe it's just a crime of opportunity, or searching for a crime of opportunity, meaning to stop the guy for jaywalking, hoping he has pot in his pocket. And I think when you pull somebody like Cohen in, you're kind of hoping maybe he's going to lie. And guess what? To quote Juan, he did lie. But that's because he likes to lie, and a lot of lawyers and a lot of handlers and a lot of muscle men, they lie. Now, I'm with Trump. I'm sorry, not except for Emily. Now, I'm with Trump on working until you become president. I think if I were considering running in 2020 and I do TV for a living, I'm not going to turn down a lucrative gig selling caviar in St. Petersburg because, you know, I may lose.
Might lose.
So that's why he's saying, like, I got a job. And by the way, it didn't work out. That doesn't mean he's lying. Now, the timeline. Now here's the nut of this. It's about a timeline difference, about a real estate deal that happened before an election that never actually happened. You would find more meat at PETA headquarters. This is like really hard. So again, in the absence of bad news about our great country, the media needs this story. Might I use a metaphor?
Please.
If Donald Trump were like an amusement park, right? There's all of these great rides. You have the low unemployment log ride. You have the prosperity carousel. You have the wages water slide. You have the peace pendulum. But where's the media? They're all at the worst ride there is. It's the Mueller teacups.
Oh, the teacups.
And they're spinning around in their vomit-inducing orgy, ignoring all the great rides that America is enjoying. Because we're having such a great time, they need Mueller.
All right. Heads explode on The View after finding out Obama treated migrants the same way President Trump
I had another point.
We're gonna. I think it's said enough. The meltdown ahead.
Continuing crisis with the migrant caravan, some on the left outraged over comparisons to how President Trump's predecessor handled similar situations at the border.
The last I checked, President Obama is no longer in office.
Exactly.
President Trump is in office. And this but Obama defense doesn't work for me. That's not to say using tear gas. I think it's immoral when you're using tear gas against children. But ProPublica just found that the Trump administration has secretly continued to separate kids from their families. The Obama administration never did that.
But I'm just,
the ACLU says that kind of separation is unprecedented. So this whole, but Obama did it, but Obama did it. I don't care what Obama did. I don't care what Trump is doing right here, right now.
Meanwhile, Homeland Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen shooting down claims that all the migrants are asylum seekers.
Ultimately, we only see about 9%, 10% of Central Americans who make an asylum claim actually be granted asylum by an immigration judge. If you're coming to get a job, that's not a claim for asylum. If you're coming to be with your family, that's not a claim for asylum.
So, Jesse, why don't you respond to what you just saw on The View? I think she was making the argument that this is whataboutism, and of course we got a crisis now.
You came to the right person about whataboutism, Juan. And I'll get to that in a minute. I do want to say about the separating the children thing. Someone was just brought over here with a young person, and they found out that it wasn't a relationship at all. He was raping her and trafficking her. And also, the Obama administration was responsible for placing young people in human smuggling rings. They brought them up to Ohio and were working them like 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. And, if Trump had done that, could you imagine the outrage? Talk about whataboutism. I want to do a little experiment with you.
Please, go right
Let's
ahead.
reverse the name Trump and Obama with Obama scandals, okay?
Okay.
And let's just see how you react.
Okay.
Let's say there were alt-righters in MAGA hats with billy clubs outside of a polling station intimidating black voters from voting. And then AG at the time, Whitaker, let's say, just gave him a slap on the wrist, okay? How would you feel about that? Also, do another one. What about if Trump sold Mexican cartels handguns and rifles, and those rifles shot a U.S. Border Patrol agent, and then Whitaker wouldn't give any documents to Congress and was held in contempt? Outrageous! What if Trump bombed the bejesus out of Libya, got the dictator out of there, created a failed state, then their ambassador died, and then they blamed it on a filmmaker and arrested him and then lied about it? Imagine if Trump had done some of the things that Obama did. You guys would have been freaking out.
I think you're in a fevered state, but I do think when these things happen,
yes,
you absolutely went bonkers on Obama. Am I right?
Justifiably.
Okay. I just want to be clear. So, Emily, the argument here, I think, comes down to this, that there were incidents, repeated incidents, in which the Obama administration used tear gas at the border. And the question is whether or not, and this is the argument coming from the left, they use them on children and people seeking asylum as opposed to people who were engaged in assaults versus the Customs and Border Patrol agents.
Right. I think that argument starts parsing and it gets beside the point, which is the fact that border skirmishes have decreased from the past administration to now, and that is notwithstanding the fact that drug and cartel involvement has increased in the last 8 years by almost 40%, and smuggling seizures at the border have increased by a factor of 10. So what I'm trying to say is that the efficiency at the border now and the respect we should have for those who are securing our border physically for us at the southern line right now should be off the charts. And to go and to respond to the comment on The View, to me, it belies an ignorance. It's exactly the point. We should care what happened under the prior administration because we should know what the laws are and what the laws aren't and where the confusion lies and why a subsequent administration can do things just like a prior one did or didn't, so that we know and can lobby our legislators and stop talking about it on talk shows and actually have something substantive to say.
Well, so Dana,
I'm going to yield my time to Emily.
Yeah, but the question is, Dana, again, the use of tear gas or similar materials against children. I think that's what, especially those pictures,
just remember,
caught the attention of the American people.
Of course, and I go back to this. I don't think there's a single Border Patrol agent that wanted to use tear gas. They don't want to have to be in this position. And remember, tear gas is a way to deal with crowds that are getting out of control in a way that doesn't have disproportionate force, right? And you use tear gas to disperse the crowd. That's not that they want to do it. That's why the Obama team did it. That is why it's happening. And remember, it's not the Border Patrol or the Trump administration that brought the children up. One thing that I think is good is that you start to hear reports today that some of the people there are realizing that they are not going to get asylum. This is not going to work, and they're deciding to turn back.
And Greg, you know, what we have is a situation there in San Ysidro where you have now reports of squalid conditions for people, long waits, which comes to Dana's point as to why people may be just leaving. And the question is, are we, in fact, there was a Trump administration, in fact, creating a situation where people don't even get to apply for a legal
That's
asylum?
an easy question. Of course not. For one thing, they aren't gassing children. That is what they're trying to do is say, under Obama, we only shot these things at adults. But the Trump administration, they're aiming at kids. That is not true. That's fake. Okay, here's an uncomfortable truth about all of this. In terms of pepper spray and gas, Trump has actually, sounds to me, Obama did it 80 times, that Trump uses less of it because Trump's stance on immigration was unambiguous. He was metaphorically the wall. He said, don't come here. We are going to repel you. We do not believe that you are refugees. We believe you are cutting in line. Therefore, that gave a message. Fewer people were coming. And therefore, you didn't need to use these kind of dispersing effects. So I think President Obama may seem more compassionate, but by being ambiguous about the border and not telling people right away what our stance is, encouraged people to come, and then you have to disperse them. But the compassionate way is law and order and telling them, look, this is what's going to happen. If you come here, this is what's going to happen. But if you do it the right way, because the best answer is compassion and order. That's what we have. That's why we let in hundreds of thousands of people every year, because we're compassionate and we have an orderly process. When you violate the process and you rush and you throw bottles and rocks, they're going to shoot, spray at you, but they're not going to shoot it at kids. They're trying to get the guys that are throwing the bottles, so that's a lie.
I don't think it's a lie, and in fact, if you look at, despite this...
So you're saying our Border Patrol were aiming it at the kids?
No,
Let's get that little kid. You were insinuating that.
No, I'm saying they were kids there, but anyway, the larger point, to my mind...
Which I'm right.
Well, that's always true. That's always true.
You better just...
But the larger point is that despite this recent thing with the caravan, in fact, border crossings long continue to go down. Are Stormy Daniels and Michael Avenatti headed for a split up? Details next on The Five.
All right, he was once her defender, but now her offender. Stormy Daniels blasting the hairless haggler, Michael Avenatti, saying the courtroom cue ball sued Trump for defamation without her permission and is demanding answers about donations that she received from donors, but she never saw. Quote, for months I've asked Michael Avenatti to give me accounting information about the fund my supporters so generously donated to for my safety and legal defense. Come on, guys. He has repeatedly ignored those requests. So we went to Mr. Avenatti for comment. He's lost a lot of weight there. All right, Emily, you're the lawyer here, so you claim. I haven't seen any evidence of it.
Oh, God.
How is this guy, tell me something, how is he not being investigated by the ABA or disbarred? I mean, a lot of the stuff he does is really shady.
I totally agree. He should be. And here's what viewers need to understand. So first of all, not only does he come to the table already with a background being investigated for fraud, being accused of fraud, as well as bankruptcy and issues with funds with his clients and his prior firm, but also the single, or just to dovetail, the single largest reason that attorneys are disciplined and or disbarred is for commingling funds. It's basically for being messy with finances and in any way doing anything wrong with clients' dollars. Every single one has to be accounted for appropriately and in line with a contract. And he claims, well, the scope has changed and therefore, I'm setting up this new fund. Well, her contract didn't. And the other largest thing is that the ethics rules are clear. They are staunch that any type of material decision is a client's to make solely. It is never the attorney's. So the fact that he filed the suit on her behalf without her even input or knowledge, it's absolutely crazy. Of course he should be referred for disbarment and sued for fraud and probably malpractice too.
Wait a second, disbarment?
Yes.
Wait a second.
There's a spectrum of discipline too that really
I think he's got a lot of issues. I don't think there's any question. But the fact is, he said all she's paid him is $100, and that the money that's come in and all these GoFundMe or whatever things that were set up was used for her security, used to help her deal with this situation. The one point that you made that struck me is that she says that the defamation suit filed against President Trump was not done with her consent, which would seem like crazy to me. That you got to have the client's consent. But how many lawyers have unhappy clients? I don't think there's a shortage of them.
Yeah, that's true.
You're-
Can I just, we don't have time because we have a big surprise coming up.
I know.
Yes.
I'm nervous about that.
Yes, you should be. Dana, I don't think any woman who ends up in this guy's orbit comes out any better.
You know what this is?
What?
It's a war on women.
It is!
It's a war on women.
WOMYN.
That's right.
Yeah, is that all you're going to say?
Well, look, yeah, because I know we got to go, and I don't want to take up too much time. But really, like, if you look, like, so she's in this situation. She's asking him, "Where's the money?" Like, and she apparently, as from previous reporting, we have heard that she could use it.
Yeah.
She needs it, and also, why does she need security? So that he could get on TV.
Right.
That it's his fault.
Right. You know what? She's in financial straits. I hope she doesn't turn to porn.
Oh my God.
You know, because it's not a good life,
It's a war
Jesse.
on women too.
Yeah, well, I don't know anything about that life, Greg, but thanks for coming to me on that.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, in general, about whatever?
I mean, I think security costs are cheap. I don't know how he's racked up $600,000 on security for this woman. It doesn't make sense to me. When you have multiple GoFundMe pages popping up and shutting down, that's a really big red flag. And I also heard word in one of the reports that he tried to start representing members of the caravan, and he was actually booted out because he was so ridiculous in his temperament and in his style that even the people in the caravan and the other lawyers around that were trying to do noble things said, dude, get the heck out of here.
Yeah. He's victim shopping.
He is.
He positions himself as the rescuing white knight.
Right.
And then he ends up screwing the person he's representing.
Exactly right.
Metaphorically, that is. All right. Controversy erupts over a Christmas classic, the left's ridiculous new problem with Rudolph. Ahead. On working until you become president, I think if I were considering running in 2020 and I do TV for a living,
Ella, let's fix this! Everybody come out quick, look at the lights!
The left's new problem with Rudolph in just a second. But first, going full Griswold with a Christmas display could cost one homeowner an insane amount of money. Local officials in New Jersey now threatening to fine a family, get this, $2,000 per day if they go forward with their massive Christmas spectacle. Neighbors complain that the attraction creates too many crowds. So now the town wants the family to pay for police security costs. Okay, you guys, first of all, I absolutely love Clark Griswold. I am that guy. And this weekend, on my steeped roof, I was on it like a spider, and I was trying to get lights along the gutter. I had my husband holding an electrical cord, which I improvised around me as a safety harness, and he was literally, like, my dog was barking. He was like, babe, this isn't, like, this is so not safe. This is so not safe. And I got halfway around before I had to give in and abort. So literally, my house right now is half Clark Griswold and half lights hanging off the side. I'm like the neighborhood dump today, but I love it. So tell me, one of you.
You know what? I think we should use more movie clips in the show. It's a really good way, if like you're not funny enough, to get the audience to laugh a little bit more, to kind of carry.
Where that came from?
I don't know, but I highly recommend it. I actually did a story a few years ago where I went down to a town in Florida, and they had a similar thing where everything was lit up, and there'd just be massive amounts of people coming from all over.
How surprising that it was in Florida. How was the weather?
It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was.
It was very. I got a nice tan when I was down there.
I was always interested why you went. Whenever you did these packages, it was always in a nice beach.
Well, we knocked out some quizzes during spring break around the same time. But neighbors have legit complaints about their streets getting crowded up. But you know what I say? Who cares? It's Christmas.
It is Christmas. And the neighbor was the mayor, you guys. So the reason that the mayor is shaking down that poor guy is because he lives 200 feet away. He's probably jealous, and he has to wade through the crowd like a Grinch before he gets home.
You don't know that. Maybe one of his relatives died through an electrocution of Christmas lights, and every day he comes home and he sees those lights and he thinks of Uncle Steve, who fried in front of him, and he was never the same. You know, you are so cruel, Emily. Oh. It's disgusting.
Uncle Steve.
Uncle Steve, yes.
Hardly. I am the Christmas elf. Okay, Juan, what would you do if that was your neighbor? Would you, like, go outside with hot chocolate, pass it around?
No, I would be upset because the streets would be crowded, everything would be a mess. But you know what? I like it because I want to go see it. So I love that stuff. But I must say, if it's in your neighborhood, and I know because I go into neighborhoods where they have big light displays. And I think this is great fun, but I know there's a throng of people all around. You can't get through. And I thought it was not fair of you to go after the mayor because he's a neighbor. He's not trying to extort. He's saying, hey, look, you can't get safety vehicles through. Nothing can get through. And you know what happens at least in D.C. is like the big one, which is at a bishop's house, it ends at a certain hour so that they know that basically it's on from, nightfall around 6 until 9, and then that's it. Nobody else. And
it comports with local ordinances.
Yeah.
God bless that bishop. Dana, Candy Cane Lane.
Earlier this week, there was another story where a family, I think it was either Utah or Idaho. I think it was Idaho, where the family was sued because they had a similar situation. And guess what? They won on First Amendment grounds. So I think that we should take this war on Christmas to the Supreme Court, to the new conservative court, and see if we can end this war on Christmas once and for all.
Yes. I will take that case. Okay, another Christmas controversy we are following. Rudolph is under attack. The Huffington Post slamming the classic children's movie as, quote, seriously problematic for apparently promoting bullying, racism, sexism, bigotry, homophobia, and lack of acceptance. Dana.
Well, this is my favorite Christmas.
Coming to an end, but not before he makes one last Hail Mary attempt to damage, destroy, disrupt the presidency of Donald Trump. Now, the screws are being turned on two Trump supporters, both of whom will join us tonight, Jerome Corsi and former campaign advisor Roger Stone. Mueller's threatening them with what could ultimately be a life in prison sentence, laying perjury trap after perjury trap around every corner. He wants them to do what we call test a lie against each other or President Trump, and yet Mueller has no evidence, none of any crimes being committed. As a matter of fact, a full legal analysis tonight. This is now a rogue prosecutor who has lost any and all perspective, any objectivity, appears to be flailing around, all in a desperate attempt to indict anyone who doesn't say what he wants them to say. People are now risking their lives in jail rather than tell lies that they want told. Jerome Corsi, Roger Stone will be here, and we'll talk to them, and they'll describe it in their own words. At this point, it is a full-blown political persecution. Tonight, we have a lot of big news to cover. We have a mini monologue tonight at the ongoing crisis at our southern border. Let's get started. Buckle up. A lot of information tonight. Time for our breaking news. Opening monologue. Let's start with this tonight. It is not a crime to get opposition research against a political opponent. If it were, every politician would be in prison. But here we are, 560 long days into the Mueller witch hunt. Jerome Corsi, Roger Stone are now in the hot seat for trying to what? Find dirt on Hillary Clinton? According to leaked special counsel documents, Mueller is investigating communications between Roger Stone and Jerome Corsi, including an email on or about July 25th, 2016, where, quote, person one, we know as Roger Stone, sent a message to Jerome Corsi with the subject line, get to the founder of Organization One, a.k.a. WikiLeaks, Julian Assange. Now, the body of the message read, get to Julian Assange at the Ecuadorian embassy in London and get the pending WikiLeaks emails. They deal with Foundation, allegedly. Okay, so he heard the Assange, remember the DNC leak just before the convention, may have had more information, in this case on the Clinton Foundation, and they want to know what he has. Roger clearly didn't know exactly what the emails contained in any way. In no way did he urge anyone to steal or hack the Clinton campaign or John Podesta's emails. No evidence of that. Now, Jerome Corsi flatly denies ever having any contact with Julian Assange. In fact, Jerome Corsi voluntarily handed over his computer, his cell phone, access to all of his emails, social media accounts, in order to cooperate fully with the special counsel's investigation. Now, that's how investigators gained access to the email we just showed you. And now Mueller's investigators, they're trying to get Jerome Corsi to test a lie, say what we want, in other words, and we'll go easy on you. If not, he's 72 years old. He may spend the rest of his life in jail. This is what we describe as a perjury trap, and ask Corsi to recount details about years-old email chains that he obviously didn't remember. Now, sadly, this is now my advice to everyone I know. Never talk to, in spite of your love of law enforcement, FBI, truth, investigations, don't talk to them ever without the advice of legal counsel, because if you say the wrong thing, if you forget an email from 2 years ago, clearly you're in legal jeopardy and they want to throw your ass in jail. Now, here you have an American citizen facing years in prison, all because he received an email from Roger Stone about a rumor and then forgot the email existed 2 years earlier. Now, what have we now become as a country here? Is Jerome Corsi really a threat to the nation? Is this what Robert Mueller thinks is justice and what it looks like? You know, 17 investigators, multi-million-dollar budgets, 600 days, 72-year-old man facing life in prison for receiving an email and not remembering it. This is a disgrace tonight. This is a danger to every American tonight. Corsi's fighting back. He tweeted out, quote, in a memo to my attorneys, I have instructed Klayman and Gray to file with acting AG Whitaker a criminal complaint against Mueller's special counsel and the DOJ for prosecutorial misconduct in my case. Jerome Corsi turned down a deal from Robert Mueller to plead guilty to lying under oath, not Russia collusion. And rightfully so. I think anyone could not remember an email for 2 years ago. Neither did Roger Stone. So if trying to access information that people might have and you care about politics and you like one candidate over another, then almost every media outlet would then also be guilty. Let me give you an example. 2016, nearly every paper and news organization, they accessed WikiLeaks documents surrounding the stolen Podesta emails, just like the DNC ones. And many included the New York Times. They actually provided direct links to the leaked emails inside of their articles. They did what WikiLeaks did. And a similar situation, let's take you back, a Hannity history lesson. 1971 is the year. New York Times published a top secret federal report on the Vietnam War. It's called the Pentagon Papers. The report was stolen, given to the Times by federal employees. Other news outlets subsequently published the papers. The Supreme Court upheld the media's right to publish the stolen Pentagon Papers in a 1971 ruling, 6-3 majority ruling. Oh, well, they didn't steal it. They didn't conspire to steal it. Okay, wasn't ruled wrong by the U.S. Supreme Court. There's the precedent. Now, if Roger Stone or the New York Times or anyone else wanted to find out if there really were smoking on Podesta emails in 2016, that says it's not a crime unless they steal it, they hack, or they conspired to steal it. Nobody's even suggested that happen. Now, this is important. With that said, according to leaked information surrounding the president's written answers to the special counsel, Roger Stone never informed Trump about the existence of the WikiLeaks emails. Roger Stone will join us in a few minutes. He told me on my radio show today, Trump absolutely told the truth on that answer. But as I said earlier, looking for dirt on a political opponent is not a crime. That's exactly what Democrat, Adam Schiff, the soon-to-be chairman of the House Intel Committee, is caught on tape doing. Robert Mueller, pay attention, when he gladly fielded a call from somebody he believed to be a Russian, claiming to have secret, embarrassing information about Donald Trump. The call turned out to be a prank. But listen to Schiff desperately trying to dig up illicit Russian dirt on Donald Trump.
He was in Moscow in November 2013. He met with a journalist and...
Well, she's a poor journalist, but anyway, she became famous because of Putin is her godfather.
Okay, Putin's godfather. Okay.
She also known as a person who provide girls for escort for oligarchs, and she met with Trump and she brought him one our Russian girl celebrity, Olga Buzova, who also known as a person with a strange reputation.
Olga, and how do you spell her name?
Olga Buzova.
And what's the nature of the compromise?
Well, there were pictures of naked Trump.
Mm-hmm. And so Putin was made aware of the availability of the compromising material?
Yes, of course.
Thank you very much. We will be back in touch with you through our staff to make arrangements to obtain these materials for our committee and for the FBI, and I appreciate you reaching out to us.
What's the nature of the compromise? We'll be getting back to you. Now, is Mueller going to be launching an investigation into the biggest liar on television every day, Adam Schiff, on Russia collusion? What about Hillary Clinton? The single biggest, most outrageous part of all of this, and it is a national disgrace and a double standard, is that, yeah, Russian collusion took place in the 2016 election. In fact, the Clinton campaign spent millions of dollars funneled through a law firm, to hire an op research firm, to hire a foreign national, I thought that was wrong, to dig up Russian lies on Donald Trump. Again, they funnel the money through a law firm, cover up their actions, hire a foreign agent to get in touch with his Moscow connections, write a report about Trump, a phony Russian dossier spread throughout the highest levels of our government, leaked to the American people. Why? Because they wanted to influence the election with Russian lies. And don't forget about the foreign governments that likely hacked Clinton's private server with top secret classified information that she acid washed, deleted, bleach bit, obstructing of justice, investigators, and real crimes violating the Espionage Act. And clear obstruction. There's never been a clearer case of obstruction of justice. She goes free. But Mueller, his merry band of Trump-hating sycophants, they don't care that Peter Strzok started this witch hunt and thought Hillary should win 100 million to 0. They haven't even literally begun to look in the direction of Hillary Clinton. And we have real evidence in that case, real crimes, real Russian interference, bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton's campaign and the DNC, and those lies rejected even by Christopher Steele himself when pressed in an interrogatory in Great Britain under the threat of perjury. Then it's used as the basis of a bulk of information to get FISA court warrants. But they didn't tell the FISA judges, oh, Hillary paid for it all and none of it's verified. And Mueller's investigation, this is not about Russian collusion, or they would have gone after Hillary about her Russian collusion. This is all about, has been about, destroying Donald J. Trump, your duly elected president. Now, what else should we expect? Look at the team I've been warning you about Mueller put together. 14 of the 17 registered Democrats, 12 donating to Democratic campaigns, including Hillary Clinton. One attorney, Jeannie Ray, actually represented Hillary Clinton in the Clinton Foundation. Mueller's pit bull, Andrew Weissmann, attended Hillary Clinton's election night victory party in Brooklyn and, of course, supported Sally Yates' insubordination against the president. The conflicts of interest are too unbelievable to be true. Now, of course, you're not going to see this in the mainstream media because they're just an extension and the cheerleaders for their friends on the special counsel and all things Democrat and pushing the single biggest, most absurd collusion conspiracy theories you'll ever hear. But while the left gleefully cheers for Team Mueller, Americans' lives tonight are being ripped apart because without any underlying crime, the screws were turned. You remember on General Flynn. He ran out of money, lost his family home. He had to sell it, faced bankruptcy over mounting legal bills before pleading guilty to lying to investigators. Only problem is the FBI never thought that he lied. They probably threatened to go after his son. So good father falls on his sword, forced to admit to something the FBI never thought he was guilty of. This was the thanks, I guess, you get for serving your country for 30 years. Low-level, volunteer, campaign advisor George Papadopoulos also coerced into pleading guilty to lying to investigators. He's in jail for 2 weeks. Paul Manafort, convicted of collusion? Nope. Financial crimes. Oh, loan applications, tax issues going back to 2007. And now the special counsel, if you look at this case, accusing him of breaking the deal and planning now to throw the book at him. He now, by not going along, may face life in jail. None of these charges have anything to do with Russian collusion. None of the real Russia collusion is ever looked at. And it doesn't stop the left from dreaming and cooking up their conspiracy theories. Look at The Guardian this week posting a fake story about Manafort's many meetings with Julian Assange, supposedly at the Ecuadorian embassy. Biggest problem is we have Paul Manafort's passport, and it doesn't show that he entered London in the years The Guardian claimed. Little background might work for them once in a while. And both Manafort and Julian Assange vehemently deny the meetings. They're both preparing lawsuits. And tonight, President Trump is fighting back, telling the New York Post that endless investigations will be met with a forceful response, including the declassification of important DOJ, FISA, special counsel documents and other pieces of information that are, quote, devastating to Democrats. The president should act. What is happening in Washington, the swamp, the sewer, the greatest travesty of justice, corruption, abuse of power we have ever seen. You're witnessing a partisan witch hunt. That's what it is. But not into any crime, not into any collusion, into a single man that they hate won the presidency, and that's Donald Trump. And you got investigators, almost all of them Democrats, singularly focused only on him. And loving Hillary Clinton supporters, she gets a pass. Schiff, who you just heard, gets a pass. The Constitution gets shredded. No equal justice under the law, no equal application of our laws. It's all to destroy the president you elected. And they're willing to destroy the lives of anyone and everyone who dares get in their way. A lot of ground to cover. Joining us now, Republican strategist Roger Stone. Roger, welcome back to the program. Let me just start with the emails that go back here. Word is, and this is, word is a friend in the embassy plans 2 more dumps. Corsi wrote on August 2nd, 2016, referring to Julian Assange. One shortly after I'm back, second in October, impact planned to be very damaging. What do you know about that?
Well, I think it's speculation from Jerry Corsi, who's an excellent investigative reporter. Nowhere does it say John Podesta's emails have been stolen and will be published. Jerry said last night on Tucker Carlson that he had told me and other people that. I have no memory of him telling